Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Infogram. Today we are going to take a closer look at the pandemics in the human history that devastated millions of lives. Let's get started. Antonine Plague 165 AD. Death toll, 5 million. Cause, unknown. Also known as the Plague of Galen. The Antonine Plague was an ancient pandemic that affected Asia Minor, Egypt, Greece, and Italy and is thought to have been either smallpox or measles, though the true cause is still unknown. This unknown disease was brought back to Rome by soldiers returning from Mesopotamia around 165 AD. Unknowingly, they had spread a disease which would end up killing over 5 million people and decimating the Roman army. Next. Plague of Justinian 541–542. Death toll, 25 million. Cause, bubonic plague. Thought to have killed perhaps half the population of Europe. The Plague of Justinian was an outbreak of the bubonic plague that afflicted the Byzantine Empire and Mediterranean port cities, killing up to 25 million people in its year-long reign of terror. Generally regarded as the first recorded incident of the bubonic plague, the Plague of Justinian left its mark on the world, killing up to a quarter of the population of the eastern Mediterranean and devastating the city of Constantinople, where at its height it was killing an estimated 5,000 people per day and eventually resulting in the deaths of 40% of the city's population. Next. The Black Death 1346–1353. Death toll, 75–200 million. Cause, bubonic plague. From 1346 to 1353 an outbreak of the plague ravaged Europe, Africa, and Asia, with an estimated death toll between 75 and 200 million people. Thought to have originated in Asia, the plague most likely jumped continents via the fleas living on the rats that so frequently lived aboard merchant ships. Ports, being major urban centers at the time, were the perfect breeding ground for the rats and fleas, and thus the insidious bacterium flourished, devastating 3 continents in its wake. Next. Third Cholera Pandemic 1852–1860. Death toll, 1 million. Cause, cholera. Generally considered the most deadly of the 7 cholera pandemics, the third major outbreak of cholera in the 19th century lasted from 1852 to 1860. Like the first and second pandemics, the third cholera pandemic originated in India, spreading from the Ganges River delta before tearing through Asia, Europe, North America and Africa and ending the lives of over 1 million people. British physician John Snow, while working in a poor area of London, tracked cases of cholera and eventually succeeded in identifying contaminated water as the means of transmission for the disease. Unfortunately, the same year as his discovery, 1854, went down as the worst year of the pandemic, in which 23,000 people died in Great Britain. Next. Flu Pandemic 1889–1890. Death toll, 1 million. Cause, influenza. Originally the Asiatic flu, or Russian flu, as it was called, this strain was thought to be an outbreak of the influenza A virus subtype H2N2, though recent discoveries have instead found the cause to be the influenza virus subtype H3N8. The first cases were observed in May 1889 in 3 separate and distant locations: Bukhara in Central Asia, Turkestan, Athabasca in northwestern Canada, and Greenland. Rapid population growth of the 19th century, specifically in urban areas, only helped the flu spread, and before long the outbreak had spread across the globe. Next. Flu Pandemic 1968. Death toll, 1 million. Cause, influenza. A Category 2 flu pandemic, sometimes referred to as the Hong Kong flu. The 1968 flu pandemic was caused by the H3N2 strain of the influenza A virus, a genetic offshoot of the H2N2 subtype. From the first reported case on July 13, 1968 in Hong Kong. Next. HIV/AIDS pandemic at its peak, 2005 to 2012. Death toll, 36 million. Cause, HIV/AIDS. First identified in Democratic Republic of the Congo in 1976, HIV/AIDS has truly proven itself as a global pandemic, killing more than 36 million people since 1981. Currently there are between 31 and 35 million people living with HIV. The vast majority of those are in sub-Saharan Africa, where 5% of the population is infected, roughly 21 million people. Next. COVID-19, the novel coronavirus. Beginning in December 2019, in the region of Wuhan, China, a new, novel, coronavirus began appearing in human beings. It has been named COVID-19, a shortened form of coronavirus disease of 2019. This new virus spreads incredibly quickly between people. Due to its newness, no one on Earth has an immunity to COVID-19, because no one had COVID-19 until 2019. While it was initially seen to be an epidemic in China, the virus spread worldwide within months. The WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic in March, and by the end of that month, the world saw more than 500,000 people infected and nearly 30,000 deaths. The infection rate in the US and other nations was still spiking. The outcome of the COVID-19 pandemic is impossible to predict at the time of this recording. But we can learn from pandemics in history to determine our best courses. These are our teachers, the Spanish flu, the AIDS pandemic, and more.